Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do stand to second this bill and thank the chair of the Legal and Justice Affairs Committee for bringing this bill at this time. Mr. Speaker, I know that Honorable Kaluma had actually brought similar amendments, and I hope that your proposed amendments have been consolidated with those proposed amendments by Honorable Kaluma. Mr. Speaker, I am honored that I actually brought the bill, the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, that is now law, that is now being amended. And Mr. Speaker, it is said the proof of the pudding is in the eating. And there's been a lot of eating of this act, and it is apt time that it be amended, because in eating, you discover where there are gaps. And I'm glad that you have seen, and the ministry has seen several gaps that would require this amendment. I am also happy, Mr. Speaker, that it is coming shortly after we have discussed the policy on the foreign policy of Kenya, which touches on fairly very similar issues. Mr. Speaker, if I talk about the background of how I came up with this act, I know I've said it before the floor of this House before, but I'll just repeat that when I sat in the Select Committee on the Constitution in 2010 when we were coming up with a new constitution, and the religious sector, especially the church, came out very strongly against Article 2.6 and 2.7 of the Constitution that was providing that treaties that are ratified by Kenya shall become part of the laws of Kenya. And they were saying that we cannot give an individual or other people the power to enact laws without involvement of a parliament that are elected as representatives of the people. And one of the things that I promised the church then is that I will bring a law that will give that authority back to Parliament. And so in bringing the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, we did exactly that, which was to try and give that power back to Parliament. However, one of the things that became very clear, when you're dealing with international law, Mr. Speaker, once a treaty is ratified, it becomes law. And once the country ratifies, it becomes law. And so what happens is that let me not talk about ratification first. In the negotiations, when the country goes to do that, Parliament is not involved. When they come to tell us that we are about to ratify, Parliament can only put reservations, and it has been a problem that we either reject a treaty wholesale or recommend reservations. But what this bill seeks to do is to get Parliament to be involved in the positions prior, so that when it comes to Parliament, we don't find ourselves in that position. At the same time, it still gives that power of negotiating treaties primarily to the executive, as it should be, because that is primarily the role of the executive. But because it will become law, the voice of Parliament must be heard and must be seen to be heard. And so I really support most of the provisions included here. One of the gaps that we had actually missed in this, because my mind is mainly on the areas that I have expertise, which is in human rights and social justice and all that. So if you look at the original treaties, it focused on, my mind was thinking of treaties like the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, Convention on the Rights of the Child and others. But you are actually now coming in with economic treaties. That's not my forte. Of course, if you put me there, I'll still become an expert, but it's not my forte. And because of that, we didn't put a lot of emphasis. This treaty now brings in the aspect of economic treaties. And what I like about the issues that are included is that it goes with what we are talking about, the foreign policy of putting the interest of Kenyans first. And you've also mentioned something else that is very dear to me on the issue that you have to look at the aspect that if you are negotiating any treaty that may compromise the food security of the country. And I'd want to request the technocrats that are working in the ministries not to look out at words like food security. Sometimes the things that compromise food security come in very interesting ways that you may not see that it compromises food security. Like, for instance, I think when I was studying in Nairobi University a long time ago, and some of the treaties that we actually got involved in at that time was compromising, or were compromising, our ability as a country to replant our traditional varieties, and that we have to get, authorizations from other countries to use our own traditional varieties. Once you do that, and there are areas where you cannot, get these new varieties very easily, then you're making our country slaves, especially on food varieties. I remember I used to visit my grandmother when I was a little girl, and she had this little kitchen that was a mud walled kitchen with a grass thatch thing. And she always had maize on the roof or hanging, and I had no clue why. But I was told that is the way that they stocked varieties. Now visit any home. First of all, we don't have the mud whatever anymore, but even if we do, we don't even have the granaries anymore. But part of the reason is because of the treaties that we passed that compromise our food security. So I am happy that you have brought this, that puts Kenyans first. Mr. Speaker, I also, maybe if I look at clause 5 of the clause 5 of the new bill, is it clause 5 or 5 or 6? Oh, that is the one on food security. I also want to commend you on the notification of regulatory impact statements in the new proposed clause B, that say preparation of a regulatory impact statement for an economic treaty shall be notified in the Gazette and in a newspaper likely to be read by people particularly affected by the proposed treaty. So you are going beyond making this a business of Parliament, but also making it a business of Kenyans. That when we are making a treaty, Kenyans must know and must be involved. What a tragedy, Mr. Speaker, that in implementing projects, we don't do the same. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring a bill, that in that bill, we will force the government, I don't know, I'm still looking for the name for that bill, that if CDF has done projects, it must be circulated that Suba North constituency, CDF, has done so many projects in this financial year. And if a county has done projects in this financial year, it has done so many projects in this financial year. By ward, let's start by village, by ward, by sub-county, by county. Mr. Speaker, because there's a lot of pilferage, because we don't have that step of accountability, Kenya is not that poor a country. What we have is poverty of commitment, poverty of integrity. What we need to do is to enhance that, so that when we have monies for CDF, for the counties, and from any other source, how do we account? Even money by NGOs, how do you account for monies that go to the ground? If all those monies were made, if Kenyans were made aware, not by what I voluntarily as a member of Parliament tell you that our NGCDF has done this building or blocks, I may choose what to show appropriately, or I may show but not and leave out the core issues that the public needs to know. So I think I laud you very much that this regulatory impact statement will empower Kenyans, so that when we are getting into an economic treaty, Kenyans will know. Similarly, let us have, as part of our oversight role, and as part of Senate oversight role, as part of oversight role in the counties, that the Kenyans must know exactly what has been done in the country. Mr. Speaker, I see my time is up, and with those few remarks, I wish to second.